Hello, welcome to Fully Charged News. My name is Robert Llewellyn.
My name's Jonny Smith.
And this is the latest lot of news we've done. We've got a very exciting announcement we're going to make right at the top. We are currently sitting in the new Fully Charged Live headquarters. Okay, we do share it with about 300 other people.
People
but,
down there.
Yeah, they're down there having their lunch.
We don't know who they are.
No, we've never met them before. But so we have a small office in this very big new development, which is very exciting in Bristol. And at the end of next month, we're doing a live news panel show recorded in front of an audience. We're very excited to be Jonny and I and 2 or 3 special guests.
Yeah.
And the tickets for this are free, but they're only free to Patreon supporters.
What's a Patreon, Robert?
Well, a Patreon is an online subscription service that helps fund innovative and brave musicians and people like us.
Yeah.
So we get that's how this show is made, is from Patreon.
Yeah.
And
if you have already subscribed to this as a Patreon, thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, and we'll be thanking some special people at the end. But this is for all Patreons. It doesn't matter how much they obviously. What's going to restrict it is access to the location. So if you're in the southwest of the United Kingdom or South Wales, it's not too far. Yep. If you live in northern Scotland or Kent, it's a bit of a schlep. So what we're going to hope to do in the future is do other shows from various locations around the country, so we get a bit more...
Like a road show?
Like a road show.
I love to bring some turntables and some very small flashing lights.
I do remember the Radio 1 road show from the 1970s.
I love the Radio 1 road show.
It was marvellous.
I went to one.
Exciting. Did you? I never went to one.
I went to one. Yeah, I think E17 were playing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Imagine seeing. I've never seen E17 live.
That was before Brian Harvey ran himself over in his own car.
With his own car, which is quite a skill. Yeah. Anyway, here's a news story. I think the one I think we've got to start with is what's going on at Tesla, simply because it's been in the news, it's been in the general news so much.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'd quite like to gently skate over the Elon Musk on Twitter debacle of a few weeks ago regarding Thailand, because there's nothing we can say about that. It was just wrong. It was stupid.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I think it's possible even someone with his very high level of self-regard might regret having sent that tweet.
I think that's a very diplomatic way of putting. Clever guy.
Clever.
Step away from the social media.
When you're feeling a bit wobbly.
Him and Trump just ought to just.
Oh, yeah.
If you're going to drink wine in the evening, put your phone away. Just put your phone away.
Put your phone away. But the one that is so intriguing for me, there's no way I can talk. Well, I don't think either of us can talk about this with any great gravitas. Is the Tesla private ownership, stock shorting, all that stuff. So my understanding of it is rudimentary, but it is essentially Elon Musk sent a tweet saying we're going to take Tesla private.
Yeah.
Meaning that the company will buy back all the shares, which means that you've got to have an investor that's prepared to do that, because it's a lot of money. And he quoted a stock price of $4.20 a share, I think, which was above. I think it was something like $4.12. It wasn't like $1 a share, and he said $4.20, but it was more than they were worth at that time.
Yeah.
And I don't understand anything about that, but what that did was completely kibosh all the people that were shorting Tesla stock. And that's really beyond my remit. I don't know what shorting means.
I was struggling to understand what that was about.
But I think it's betting on that Tesla stock will go down rather than up.
Right. Okay.
The value will drop, and if the value drops, you make money.
And those are the people who might have been spreading negative.
They had been
press.
Very, very obviously and very publicly spreading huge amounts of incredibly
to try and make
press,
Tesla nosedive.
To try and make it nosedive so they make money out of it. I mean, it's very,
people
very
do
baffling.
stuff like that.
People do some weird stuff. This is one of those stories where the more I read, as I tried to understand it, the less I understood it. But there are estimates of there was the people who are shorting the stock lost $10 billion.
Around that
time. There's other estimates where it's $3 billion. So I don't know which. It's between $3 and $10 billion.
So the proposal saw stock prices swing wildly. Shares went up 7% after the announcement, but with an official decision outstanding, Nasdaq was forced to halt trading later that afternoon. When reopening the trade of Tesla's shares, they surged by 12%. At the time of writing, the trend has continued. It was up 11%, 379.
I mean, it makes sense. I totally understand why the board of Tesla and Elon Musk and everybody involved wants it to be private, because that stock market ludicrousness, it's just bonkers. I mean, it's just gambling, isn't it? This you'll know more about, because I think it's an interesting story, because I didn't even know there was plans to do this, but FIA World Rallycross.
World Rallycross, if you haven't watched World Rallycross, I think is one of the most...
I think it's more fun than circuit racing.
It's the most entertaining, short, sharp, it's the double espresso of motorsport, and it's ramped up a lot in recent years. And what they're doing is I think there's been a lot of investment in it, because they're realising it's for people with short attention span.
Right.
You want high energy motorsport that's wheel to wheel, doesn't last long, but it's huge amount of excitement, all compacted into a short space of time. So it's not like stage rallies, like world rallies, where
right. So it is on a circuit then. I don't even know what rallycross is.
It's on a circuit, but the circuit has two ways in which to complete a lap. So they have, and every race, each driver has to do a joker lap, which is like a different route, which involves more dangerous jumps and stuff. It's like a computer game, but in reality. And the cars are built from production cars, but they're the maddest cars. I've driven a 4-year-old World Rallycross car. It nearly tore me a new one. And they're really, really exciting. And what I'm looking forward to is, they're saying that they're going to make Rallycross cars electric, which is a massive step, because part of the attraction for Rallycross is they are very loud. I imagine
they're very loud,
especially when they're all turbo, wound right up to the nines. The fact that they said they were going to do it for 2020, the whole grid's going to be EV, was a big shock, actually.
Yeah. I just want to briefly mention this story, because I just think it's interesting how big electricity companies are working towards the acknowledgement of increased popularity of electric vehicles. So there's E.ON, one of the big six in the UK, French company.
Yes.
Have launched a new electricity tariff designed specifically for electric vehicle drivers called Fix and Drive, which gives a fixed reward equivalent to driving 850 miles a year for free.
Okay.
So there must be I don't quite know how it works. It's a 2-year fixed price tariff.
Available to drivers who own or lease a plug-in, EV or hybrid, receive a £30 credit on their electricity account 6 months after they sign up to the tariff, and is earned annually.
So it's not a tariff that I see. So if you sign up to it and you go, right, I'm going to use my free 850 miles and then swap, that's not going to work. They've talked about this, haven't they? They've worked it out.
They have talked. But I know E.ON have been. They brought that film out, that really cool electric car film.
Yeah, I know, they have done that sort of stuff.
And that was to show their sort of intent of pushing into the public charging market with competitive tariffs. I like the fact that more companies are actually taking into account EV-specific tariffs.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you just got to be really savvy with your Economy 7, which is basically where I am at the moment.
Yeah. No, me too. Now, when I was researching this, I was all like hearing all these different stories, but the one that got me in the end was the kind of we're I reckon approaching battery crisis. So that it's really difficult to judge how it's going. But there is a world battery shortage, which is not surprising, because the demand for batteries has gone off the scale.
Raw materials,
manufacturing, plant, everything.
And that's why there's a waiting list for so many important cars.
It's such
that you guys want to buy,
or
are trying to buy.
And I think this sentence says it all. I think it seems down to which car manufacturer makes its own batteries and which one relies on supplies of third-party batteries, because it's absolutely down to that. Tesla are making their own batteries. with Panasonic. But they're producing them, and what have they done? They've invested billions in a massive factory to make batteries, the Gigafactory, the first one. I didn't realise there's 21 Gigafactories being built around the world.
21?
21, not by Tesla. But other factories that are of a similar scale.
I didn't know there was that many.
I think 19 of them are in China.
Right, yeah.
But everyone knows that's happening, and they're ramping it up. And there's a couple of stories around this that are in the news at the moment, but that is why there's a shortage. Like Hyundai buy their batteries from LG Chem.
Yes, yeah.
And LG Chem aren't making enough.
Yeah. And I suppose like you say, it comes down to, that's the problem. If you've ordered a certain EV now, you can't get it for 8 months, 9 months, 10 months. And it's frustrating. Because you guys are presumably waiting for a certain car. We get people emailing us all the time saying, why can't we get our e-Golf? Why can't we get our Kona?
Yes. The Kona, that's the one I'm desperate to.
Yeah.
I know there's a shitload of Konas on the way.
How many Konas was that?
Shitload.
Yeah, it's a large boatful.
A large boatful.
In all seriousness, is the victim of its own success situation.
It is, isn't it? No,
if you invested early, or forged a relationship early with a battery manufacturer, you're sort of safer. It's the first come first served situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And at the moment, the biggest battery I think is 4 megawatt hours. The one in South Australia that Tesla have produced.
Yeah.
So that's 4 megawatts. So 1 gigawatt hour of batteries is just that's 4. So it's 1,000 gigawatt hours.
Right. Okay.
1,000 megawatt hours is a gigawatt. So what they built one that's 4, which is like a football pitch full of batteries.
Yes.
And and that's 4, and they've got to make 1,000 of those to make.
The numbers are massive.
Not 1,000, 50,000. They are massive. Yeah. And that is to to make the battery packs for the Model 3 about, no one quite knows how big they are, but about 75 kilowatt hours.
Yeah.
So that to make 100,000 of those, that adds up. Those figures add up very quickly.
Yeah.
The Porsche Taycan.
I beg your pardon.
The Porsche Taycan.
You've got to say it in a Liam Neeson way.
The Porsche Taycan.
Yeah.
I will get my car back.
And I will plug it in, and I will charge it.
I have a series of skills. I know how to plug it in. I know what the range is.
But Liam, do you have the right app which talks to the public charge point, which engages your rapid charge?
I have the incorrect app. I will hunt down the supply company, and I will kill you.
And if you haven't got the right finance deal for your new Porsche, they will take it away from you.
Yeah, I bet they would.
Your Taycan gets taken. Potentially.
But it hasn't come out yet. But I just love this bit of footage that was posted by Twitter user Zoe Pioneering, which is Jana Hoffner. I would imagine in Germany, this bit of footage. Great bit of footage.
It'd be Jana, wouldn't it?
It'll be Jana. Sorry,
Would it be Jana Hoffner?
It will be. It won't be Jana.
Or Höfner.
It'll be Jana Höfner.
But the footage that she took is great.
It's great. And what I love is that little bit, you'll notice it on the back bumper. It looks like, I've looked at it a couple of times, it looks like I've been driving it. Because it looks like I've reversed into a post. Because there's a kind of hole or a dent in the plastic bumper. Now, clearly, this is all disguised and
it's because the parking sensors won't work.
Oh, they won't, will they? So
because of all the cladding. Because you probably already know this, but the Mission E is now officially named as the Taycan. Taycan. Taycan.
But it's just the fact that they're clearly, they're charging it. They're trying it out on various chargers just to make sure it works. So that's obviously happening.
An important point, very important aspect of EV ownership.
Yeah. I think this is very important. Headlines containing the word could. Now this was, because I've talked about this before and I know I've done it.
Could.
I've said it. I've said, this could really make a difference.
Yeah.
Or this could, when this starts working, it could be a really big change. So it's chemists from the University of Glasgow have developed a flow battery system using a nanomolecule that can store electric power or hydrogen gas in a new hybrid energy storage system. So my understanding of this, and I've heard of it before, it's not a totally new system, but you can have a fluid, literally a liquid, that is positively charged with electricity.
Okay.
And you pump that fluid into a tank and it goes through a fuel cell and that extracts the electricity. But the fuel still exists and you unpump it.
Right.
I don't know what you call unpumping. You take it out of the tank and you refill the tank with charged fluid. Or it might even be that you just literally circulate the fluid through a system where you join it onto, and that charges it. I don't quite know how you charge the fluid or how long it takes.
Okay.
But that means you've got a liquid tank filling system that doesn't burn a fuel but takes electricity from it. So it's a liquid battery.
It's a liquid battery, like you say. You have to physically remove the liquid when it's reduced. It's discharged. It's not combustibility. It's
discharge. I guess it's discharge.
Yeah.
You can probably drink it.
Yeah.
Don't drink it when it's charged.
And presumably fully recyclable because it's.
Well, it sounds like it's a recyclable system. So you're using the same fluid again and again.
So you are physically putting a liquid in. It has charged properties.
Yeah.
And then remove. It doesn't evaporate. It doesn't dissipate. You suck it back out.
I guess you suck it back out. Yeah.
What's that called?
It's called. Well, this I'm going to because you'll get this because it's a bit beyond me, but you'll get this.
If it's beyond you, I don't know.
They are presenting a polyoxoanion that can be reversibly reduced and protonated by 18 electrons/hydrogen per anion in an aqueous solution. And that can act either as a high-performance redox flow battery electrolyte, giving a practical discharge
This isn't
energy
real.
density. This is real.
This isn't real.
A practical discharge energy density of 225 watt-hours /1. I don't even know what that means. Maybe I should do this in Crichton, with a theoretical energy density of more than 1,000 watt-hours per kiloliter, or as a mediator in an electronic cell for the on-demand generation of hydrogen.
Seriously, that's such a long... I need to break that sentence down.
It looks like one of the really difficult speeches I used to have on Red Dwarf, where the lines had to be pinned to the back of Craig Charles's head as we walked down the corridor. There's no way I'm going to remember. What I want is a really good long comment that explains how it works. But anyway,
I'd like a short comment on how it explains to one another, because I've got a long one.
You got a long one there.
And I don't
but
quite...
I mean, what is great is, I really hope this stuff works. I really think it could work.
Yep.
There's no reason why it shouldn't work. It would be amazing. But if you think of the complexity, so when the headline says, this new technology could make electric cars da-da-da-da, you know, where you've got to have the filling station that has the tanks. Could you produce it at home? Could you have that liquid in a bottle at home that you charge from your solar panels?
Yeah.
Then I'm interested.
Yeah.
And that is that thing. It's in a sense, it's a bit like hydrogen.
How
refueling.
usable is it?
How usable is it? How easy is it to install?
Does it eradicate precious metals that the children are having to mine?
What are in the liquids?
This next news story
is the most bizarre I think we've ever done.
I don't really understand it.
No.
It's like hitting yourself with a fish. I don't really understand.
It's like being told that because you've been naughty, you've got to walk around in public hitting yourself with a fish for about a year.
Yes, that's exactly
which is
what
essentially what's happened with Volkswagen in America. So this is the most bizarre thing, and we'll show a clip of it, but it is this. It's an advert for to promote electric vehicle use in the United States, which is that's very good.
Yeah.
But it's actually paid for by Volkswagen, and it doesn't feature any Volkswagen vehicles. It features all their competitors, which is the most bizarre thing. So it's a really good advert. It's really well done.
It's paid punishment.
Yeah, it's part
for VW's Dieselgate saga,
which follows on from the Dieselgate scandal and includes the promotion of electric vehicles in general. So they've been told by the courts, you've got to promote electric vehicles, you've got to pay for it.
Yeah.
And it's not just Volkswagens, but they haven't used any Volkswagen. They don't use Teslas. That's the only car I couldn't spot in the advert.
So maybe it'd be interesting to know if they could have used a Volkswagen. It seems to me like
maybe they weren't even allowed.
They weren't
to use
allowed.
One. Yeah.
But I mean, I guess
they could have put an e-Golf on. I mean, they could have done. I mean, not that they'll sell you one, but they could use one in an advert. Yeah.
That's another complex.
Yeah.
But I guess, if you think about this, the big picture, as I guess widespread EV promo, of which the Volkswagen Group is going to be a prime player.
Oh yeah, they will be,
imminently.
Yeah.
Audi.
Yeah.
VW.
Porsche,
of course, with the Liam Neeson edition.
The Liam Neeson Porsche.
If Liam Neeson doesn't buy or be
wouldn't it
involved,
be good if he did the advert? Porsche, have a think about
please,
it.
Please, Porsche have got some
Liam
sense.
would do it. If you bung him a few quid, he would do it.
Even if he just does the voices, the app.
Yeah.
That Taycan
That's what
owners.
you want. You want the Taycan owner, and you turn it on and it goes, I have a particular set of skills.
I've found you. I know where you are. It's when you go out, you know, where's your cup?
For the sat nav.
Yes. Oh gosh, I'm so excited. I nearly knocked the table over.
I know where you're going. I know how fast you can get there.
Yeah.
No, but I could get hold of Liam. If Porsche gave us a lot of money.
No, I think a moderate amount of money would do it. Don't even think a lot. Let's not be greedy.
Okay.
Stop it.
This one, I like this story just because where it's come from and what it's done. So Poland, if you look, there's lots of really cool, visualized data apps of energy use in Europe. I'll try and put some links underneath, but I've found some really good ones recently, where you can see how clean your electricity is in whatever country you're in. So it's quite all over the world. It's very good ones. And actually, when you look at us compared to the rest of Europe, we're actually on the cleaner side, which is surprising. I mean, France is way ahead in terms of CO2. This is CO2 output. France.
Not in terms of people smoking on the streets.
No,
because France is still way ahead of us, I would say. In general, of just general fagging.
Well, one Gaulois is actually about the equivalent of a coal-burning power plant in Yorkshire. But this is some research that's been done in Poland, which when you look at the map, Poland is black on the map because it's got the highest concentration of CO2 output per kilowatt hour of electricity of anywhere in Europe.
Yeah.
More than Russia. because they only burn coal. I think they've got one wind turbine in Poland, or two.
Oh my gosh!
And the rest of it is all coal because they got a lot of coal.
I've been to Poland's biggest power station.
Right.
I fed it with some coal.
They have a lot of coal there. So, but what they did was work out. So if you build an electric car, you transport the materials, you do all that, then you drive it only in Poland. You're charging off Polish electricity. It is still cleaner than a diesel or a petrol car in its lifetime.
Oh,
and
right,
that's the research that came out of which university?
Belgium's VUB University.
From Belgium. Okay. That was quite interesting.
I like that.
Battery recycling. Recent report from Energy Storage Report has some interesting information about the massive increase in second life and recycling. A huge and growing industry currently in Asia rather than Europe and China. So that Europe or the USA. So
I'm a big fan of the whole second life thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the obvious use.
Yeah,
but then eventually, even if you've got your old Leaf battery, it's been rehoused in a box on your wall. 15 years later, it's going to start to go. Oh God, it only stores 6 kilowatt hours. It's a bit knackered. What do you do with it then?
Third life.
Third life.
Which will be a thing.
Oh, maybe there's third life. I don't know what it would be. I mean, there's a lot of technology around that. We've met students. We've interviewed them on here who've worked out things where you put a load of what are pretty knackered 18650 cells in a box, but the software uses exactly the amount of energy it's got in that one cell. It understands how the cells work. It modulates it, so it's maximising the life of each individual cell. It's really clever. So there's a lot of stuff like that coming. That's now a commercial product, I think. But
that's fantastic. Well,
but they're starting to actually reprocess the materials like on an industrial scale.
Like modern day scrapyards.
Yeah.
The way in which they process all the materials now is incredible.
It's incredible.
The days of just turning up and there's a rabid dog next to a porter cabin, and they go, it's up there, it's 3 cars high.
Yeah, because I've got a pair of back doors off a Morris Traveller that I put on my Morris van.
Ooh. I'd like a crushed car for a table.
Yeah, for a table would be good, wouldn't it?
My brain wasn't clever enough to work out that it's still the same weight as a car.
Yes, it's quite heavy.
It's still a car, it's just smaller than a car.
Darling, can you move the table? I really can't without the forklift.
No, so don't be an idiot, Jonny. Don't order 2 of those cubes and put a piece of glass on the top.
But I think let's do that I think that's worth ultra quick mention because we went up to see that in Orkney. There's this Tidal Turbine, which we featured in Orkney a while ago, which is a floating, it looks like a yellow submarine. That's all you can see when you're on the, so there's nothing to see when you see it. There's this big yellow sort of submarine-y thing.
That's kind of good that there's nothing.
It's quite nice, and it's in a tidal way between 2 islands, so they do get strong tides there. Yeah. And it's anchored to the ground, and a tide's going one way and it's going out there. Well, underneath the yellow submarine is 2 big arms with turbines, like wind turbines, but they're water turbines, and they can predict down to the last minute when it's going to be generating and when it's not, because as the tides turn. So it's generating for something like 11 hours and 22 minutes on each tide, and then it turns quite quickly and then it starts again. So they know exactly when it's going to, but what it's done is remarkable. It's surprised the people who put it in. So it's done 3 gigawatt hours of electricity since 2017 when we saw it, when it had just gone in.
Wow.
And you can go, what's 3 gigawatt hours? I don't know, but they've had hundreds of different tidal turbine experiments on this site because it's a place where they test out, they can put them in the water and see how they operate. Yeah. And in all that time, which is since 2003, 30 machines they've had in there, their combined total output is 2.7 gigawatt hours over that whole period.
Oh my goodness,
so that's
since 2003?
Since 2003. So in 1 year, this one machine has doubled their total output. I mean, it's an experimental station, but they've got so much electricity out of it, they've now got to think, what are we going to do with this?
It's clearly a proven
It's a proven technology, and it's because it's floating, it's not mounted to the ground, it's not a big post that you've got to... They can lift it up to maintain it, they can tow it back to a dock and lift these arms out of the water, and they can do maintenance on it. It's much easier to maintain.
So you don't have... Yeah.
You don't have to have divers going underwater,
It's like these floating wind turbines.
Yes.
At sea.
Yeah.
They're not even...
and those floating wind turbines are also producing more electricity than equivalent-sized mounted ones. So I just want to, this story is so stupid, and I'm sure we'll research it and find out it's all wrong, but I think there is an element of truth in it. So and I've titled it Salt in the Wound. Okay, so there was going to be this massive tidal turbine, there still might be, being built on the South Wales coast. A huge, huge local support. That's, I think, the important thing is, the local people in South Wales really wanted this thing here. This is a huge tidal barrier. Tide comes in, water comes in through barrier, drives turbines, fills up as tide goes up, tide goes out, and there's a big tidal drop. This is on a Severn estuary, big range. Tide goes out, water goes out of lagoon through the turbines, generates electricity. Predictable, reliable, easy to maintain, blah, 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 blah. Not an eyesore, just huge. It's a big construction. It kind of needs a mountain to be dug out to make it. You know, that's the thing. I hadn't thought of that. Oh yeah, it's going to be a lot of rocks, like millions of tons, to build the wall. But anyway.
Yeah, but look at the alternatives.
The alternatives, yes, exactly. Anyway, the current UK government said no, it's not going to happen. But so that's that. But then the other side of the Severn estuary is Hinkley Point C, which we've talked about many times. There's many benefits and positive things about nuclear power. There's one or two minor drawbacks, like what you end up with once you've generated the power, and there's lots of solutions coming up, and boy will I hear about them. You know, there's new technologies that are coming, but they don't exist yet, and this power station isn't using them, and it's just possibly.
Well, and they can't really quote for how much it's going to cost to finish the power station.
I mean, the economics of it we can't even talk about, but what they're doing at the moment is dredging out the bay where the waste from the previous two nuclear power stations has gone. The waste water doesn't mean it's radioactive. It is a bit radioactive, like not deadly, slightly, mildly radioactive.
No three-headed fish.
But they're dredging it. They're dredging it, putting it on big dredger ships, taking it across
to Wales,
to the other side, to Wales, where they're dumping it in the bay where they were going to do that. And you just think that is cruel. That is cruel and unnecessary.
That's pooing on someone else's doorstep.
And there have been calls for a peer review, but the big company behind it, EDF, one of the big six, have said people who say that this is contaminated are alarmist and wrong, which is unfortunately very similar to the language that the people who were running this was some news report I read, the people who were running Chernobyl in Ukraine said about the dangers of Chernobyl.
What, alarmist?
Yeah, that people who are saying this are alarmist and wrong.
But it's the not being able to officially cost it up.
Yes, that's
and
the
given
cost
an accurate timescale. Those are two massive things in any business, in any project.
Real worry with that is the two models that are of exactly the same design, one in France, one in Norway, that still aren't finished, that are 8 to 10 years behind schedule, that are multiple billions of euros over budget.
8 to 10 years out. I mean,
anyway, that's all we've got time for. We just want to say thank you to some really super special Patreon supporters who support Fully Charged for $10 a month or more, which is really extraordinarily generous.
It is, thank you.
And I thought there'd be 6 to 10. There's actually about 400. We've done about 100 so far. So we're going to do a little run now. Jonny and I are going to read out some really, really cool names.
Peter Scott.
John Ratcliffe.
Andy Stroud.
Glenn Eisenhut.
Darren Shepherd.
Russell Shepherd. Not related.
Aren't they? I don't know.
No, don't know.
Sebastian Schlein.
Victor Ramos.
Don McDonald.
Greg W. Schuder.
Dave Hogg.
Robin Hilliard.
Brodie Wolstenholme.
David Curzon.
Bart Steinhardt. Oh, damn, hang on. Bart, I can't read my own writing. Bart Steinhardt. Bart Steinhardt.
Yeah. Gary Davison.
Coxsang Hugh.
And finally, Mark Garnett. Thank you very much for supporting Fully Charged. It really does help. We are going to be doing, as we said at the beginning, a live news recording, but the tickets are only going to Patreon supporters.
Yep.
They're free, there's no charge for it, but they're going to Patreon supporters. So general viewers won't even know when it's on or anything about it, but Patreon supporters will know everything. Vast amounts of data will be available for our wonderful Patreon supporters.
Yeah. And if you want to watch us do this sort of thing in real time, I don't know why you would.
Yeah, I don't know why you would, but there's also going to be other people, other guests with us. Yes. It's not just going to be the two of us. There's going to be other
professionals,
really professional, well-informed people who actually know stuff.
Yeah.
But that's it. So please do subscribe to Fully Charged. Please check out the Patreon link beneath this video.
And if you have news, tell us some news.
That's actually quite a good one. If you have news, tell us some news. And if you have been,
thank you for watching.